You get on there and say hi. Oh, you're now, Jay? Frick?
Yeah, I'm live now.
So we're on, audio's on or video too?
Both.
Good job.
Now it's a secondary camera, so make sure you look into that one.
Come on in, come here, Loren. It's your show. Let's talk to the camera. Welcome them.
Hi, I'm RobCosman. Welcome to my workshop. I look a little different than the last time you saw me.
All right, go sit down. Quit being funny. She's all giddy because she has a new horse. My wife's horse gave birth to a colt 2 weeks ago whose name is Dax. Long legs. We'll post a picture at some point. So welcome, we're a little bit late because Frick made such a great meal and we had a few technical snafus. What's new? We got some people here tonight that we can get some information from. I'll tell you all about that. But have we got a question we can start off with right now so we can get right into it?
Yes, actually.
Go ahead.
Just give me 1 second. This one comes from Eric Fisher in the chat.
Hi, Eric.
He says, in the online workshop, we are doing shop setup and furniture. Is it in the plan to do the final upper tool cabinet? What lessons have you learned and what changes do you foresee in the final version?
Excuse me. Yeah, this is kind of I wouldn't say fallen by the wayside because I think about it all the time. In fact, Ken kicked me out of the production, so I'm not involved with that anymore. And, but we do, just prep work on the videos we do 5, sometimes 6 videos a week, so the prep work on that can be, take a lot. Plus there's all the administrative stuff and whatever. But I need to, on my own, get these, am I talking to this camera still, right?
Yep.
I want to get these drawers done. The parts are all in there. The parts for the second door are sitting under there. I want to get that done. We'll probably pick up the filming when we start over here. So what have I learned? For those that are just tuning in, we started the online workshop, and actually Dave's here. When the camera's on, we'll put the camera on. So we started the online workshop in 2011, and we started off just as hand tool only. Started that in July, and somewhere in the fall, I think I was probably teaching somewhere, it dawned on me that the people that were watching were trying to build furniture with hand tools using the end of their table saw or a workmate or something like that for a bench. I thought, this is crazy. So in January, we started a second workshop, which was a hand and power tool, kind of a hybrid.
Look at Jake's camera now.
The first thing we built was this bench, made out of mahogany, maple, bird's eye maple, and mahogany. And then people asked for a tool cabinet, which I thought was a great idea. So we built a tool cabinet, but we built it our way, which means we started off with a model, scale model, and then we built a full-size mock-up. And the idea behind the mock-up, as you can see, it's made out of pine, aspen, plywood, was just to get the form that we could use, and then we'd stop working on it, go to a different project, and let me live with it for a while, come back and make changes. And this is quite a bit different than what we started with. I can't even remember some of the changes, but there were just things that just weren't in the right place, and you want this to be really handy. This almost has to be like an assistant. When you go to reach for something, it's right there. You should be able to do it with your eyes closed. So what have I learned? Underneath here are carving chisels that I probably open this up once every 8 months.
Actually, you open up to grab that 16th-inch chisel.
Yes. So I'll leave this, but I rarely use it.
But that was the idea behind it.
Right, right. I need more marking gauges. I actually just drilled this one out this afternoon, and I replaced my awl with a hole for my mortise gauges. I've come to realize that the more you do with just hand tools, the marking gauges, and probably one of the most versatile tools you own, and one of the least expensive. And you can't seem to have too many. So I've got 4 there. I could probably use another one. The plane section, that works well. I like the way they're stored. These are very useful. I know what's in every one of them, so it's a good spot. And I'm a huge fan, so if you ask me what I learned, huge fan of shallow drawers. And my wife hates this because I would make the chest of drawers with shallow drawers too, and you can't get anything in them. But the problem with a deep drawer is the only part that gets used is the top. All the junk underneath gets lost. And who wants to dig it all out? So a whole bunch of shallow drawers are much better than 2 or 1 big deep drawer. Learned that. Got to do a little bit of modification here because I use that little mallet as well, so we just got to fit that in. But all of this stuff gets used. And Lawrence, friend of mine out in Seattle, didn't like this, but I actually do like it as a means of way to store my squares. In here, that's nothing changes in there. I like that. I like this, or I keep all my hammers. So you look at this, and this is a bit of a mess. So we're probably going to have to put some thought into this because this is no good when you start getting stuff all piling up. Any kind of a flat spot, as Ken will attest, just becomes goes from being a flat spot to a mountain. These are a great idea if people would stop stealing my screwdrivers. But to have a place, for everything have its place, and to be able to go there and know that's going to be there, that's great, awesome. Down underneath there, so really, lived with it long enough now, there's not a lot of changes to be made. The one downside to having this little flat spot is it gets stuff accumulating on it all the time, and then you lose the function of your drawers because you got to move something before you can pull it out. And I want to add a piece on there too that's just going to be a bit of a trophy cabinet where we can keep all my mementos from the various vets and Angie's pictures and all that. And Tony keeps finding bullets and polishing them. And then my other big memento over here, Al sends me bigger bullets. So yes, question answered. Next one.
Okay, next one comes from. My mic is muted. Next one comes from AJ Burgess, also in the chat.
Hi, AJ.
He says, what does Rob think is the most useful shop-built piece of furniture other than the workbench?
Okay, hold that thought. Loran, you want a chair? You going to stand? We're here. Huh? Do something. I'm hot.
Put a deck cat sweater on.
Yeah, they got heaters built in them. We'll do introductions in a minute.
You guys can go sit over there.
Yeah, you can move your chair over there so you're not right in the blast. And we're giving away prizes tonight too. So the question is the most.
Grab the garbage.
Well.
And put it back there.
Wow. Let me give you a little. Let me give you a little walk around the shop and show you. I thought this was a great topic that we came up with because if you do this for a living, you do not have time to build what we might call nice shop furniture. If you do it as a hobby, you can just make this thing whatever you want. We're treating this almost as a studio as well as a furniture shop. So you get to do a little more to it than you would otherwise. What I like most about shop furniture is the fact that you can pretty it up, in other words, build it nicely, but it's also going to get used, so it's not just sitting there collecting dust. I didn't put a finish on most of it because I didn't want to, or maybe that wasn't the reason, but I didn't.
You didn't want to spray.
I didn't want to, yeah, but I think I do now. But anyway, so I've had a lot of fun building that. So we start over here, and just so we kind of got a little bit away from the theme, but if you look at it from a distance, it looks the same. So the color scheme on the bench and the tool cabinet is mahogany and maple with bird's eye thrown in. But when I started building this stuff, we decided to go with pine and Douglas fir as a bit of a contrast. And people ask me, what's my favorite wood? My favorite wood is northern white pine. We were shooting a YouTube video this afternoon, and I couldn't help commenting. I said, if you are somewhere where you don't have access to northern white pine, you are missing out. I've worked with ponderosa, lodgepole, southern yellow. You go through all the different pines, and nothing works like northern white pine with a little bit of extra pitch in it. It's just gorgeous wood. It's warm to the touch. It just planes beautifully. It chisels beautifully. It saws wonderfully. It's great. So whenever I get a chance to use it, and most importantly, it ages better than any other wood. Challenge me on that. Put it in the chat and see if you can come up with a wood that ages better than pine. So we started over here, but I'm going to start over here. So everything is going to kind of have that theme where we're using the colors. Can we go over here? Certainly. Yeah. So I decided to build. Sometimes we do stuff in here I don't want to be pounding on my bench. So we built a, and this was an experiment too, because we tried making the top of this bench. This is the Cosman bench, slightly modified, using three sheets of 1-inch Baltic birch. And then I used Douglas fir on the stretcher. So all the horizontal pieces in here should be Douglas fir. All the vertical pieces are pine. In this case, it's maple, but we had to. So this has a metalworking vise on it, and that's a big granite reference plate. So that's one piece. But I haven't used a lot of this stuff enough to be able to answer that question the way you want. So over here, we had to develop something that we could use on the chop saw. You have to have extension tables. But I also wanted to have a nice way of dealing with scraps. So we put this on wheels. This is pine plywood. And then we put in drawers so we could have an excuse to make more dovetails. But this is, that works out.
Pull them all the way out.
How deep they are? They go forever. It's nice. That one's a little stiff. I got to go back and fix it. So that's gets used a lot in handy. Come over here. Now this was left over from the last shop. This was we did this as a project. This was a mobile tool clamp. Mobile clamp rack. Because if you're needing to use clamps somewhere, instead of making 50 trips back and forth, you can just take this whole thing with you. And that's a mirror image on the other side. So you can never have too many clamps. So you got same thing on the back side.
I think we need to change those casters out.
Why?
It doesn't handle that floor very well.
No. This we just recently built, so this is also mobile, but this is for our power tools. Everything has its place. Everything's in its place. We're in the midst of building this. This is a router cabinet. We're doing that in the online workshop, and we did the next shiplap back, so if you haven't checked that out, it's a nice way of doing things. And this will have a door on it, same as over there. This is a little cabinet that we're just in the middle of doing, shallow. This is going to hold all our PPE, which is the respirator, the headphones, the goggles, and, what? Just those three things?
No, earmuffs.
Earmuffs, I said that. I said headphones, I called them. Anyway, I spend half of my day, as Ken will witness, running around looking for this stuff, trying to remember where I left it last so it'll have its place. Then over here, we had to hide the electrical panel, so that's in there, but we took the opportunity to put shelves in the upper section so we can put stuff that we don't use a whole lot. Made this little cabinet just because I wanted to do. So this is for the drill press, so this is where we'll keep all of our drills. Again, shallow drawers, makes for much better storage. Now, if we go this way, what's left to be done?
Nothing. Well, no, there's no cabinet.
Well, there's a cabinet that's going to go right here, and that's going to replace the one that I had in the other shop, and that's just got stuff that needs a home that doesn't have a place for it. And I think that might be the last, oh no, we did it here. We just completed this too. We needed a place to keep the sled and the sleeve and all the stuff associated with the table saw instead of having to walk over to that wall, and I don't have the wall space anymore. So this has turned out beautifully. Really happy with that. And again, we used pine on the vertical and Douglas fir on the horizontal. So what piece has been most valuable? Besides the bench, has got to be this, because he didn't say. So this would definitely be, if you're going to build a tool cabinet that's, as I just already talked about, has everything that you're going to use and you want it within one step, and I would suggest you do the same thing I did. Do a prototype first. It allows you to figure out all your dimensions. It allows you to make sure that this piece is there's a nice flow to it. And then when you're done with it, you can go and build the real thing instead of building the real thing with expensive material, only to discover that, that doesn't quite work. And now you're changing mahogany instead of changing, well, I was going to say plywood, but plywood has become more expensive than mahogany, so. All right, so now you can turn the camera. So this is Dave. If you've been around with us for a long time, you'll remember Dave. And Dave has come back tonight as a special guest and had a meal with us. And right beside him is Chris Davenport. And Chris is an engineer that works for a company called RPC. And they made us a big machine to help make our handles and do our brass and all kinds of things. He's been the best thing we've found in a long time. But I forgot that Chris used to work for a lumber mill and also,
Used to build,
pardon?
we used to design and install something.
Design and build sawmills and worked with the wood pellets. So he had asked me a question about torrefied, what are those big brown boards back there? And I said, the torrefied maple. Well, I'll get you a little while later, I'll get you to tell a story about torrefied, and he may be able to answer some questions for you. Pretty fascinating stuff. Ken's here. Everybody knows who Ken is. And Ken will be watching, we'll be monitoring the chat to see if there's something that has to come up. Frick's in the back corner behind his big green moon. Loren's over here holding that planer in place. Megan is here. And if you're a combat wounded vet that has been to our class, any one of the 13, always love to give you a shout out. So would you please, in the chat, put @Megan and your name and the class you were in so we can acknowledge your presence, give you a big shout out. And we have our trusty Moose here. Moose donates these sweaters, the famous Dead Cat, and he's got a new one for the summer, which is a little cooler. We'll talk about that, and we'll give some of those away tonight. And Jake's behind the camera, Frick's over there, as I mentioned. And I know Luther's on. Is Super Dave on? We have a very special guest tonight. I'll tell you this story real quick. So we always have a vet come on. We try to bring a vet on as often as possible that's been to one of our class and have them explain the Purple Heart Project. If you're new and you're just watching this for the first time, we do this as a means of allowing other people to participate in what we do, which is contribute to improving the lives of combat wounded veterans. I get to do it by training them. You get to do it by providing some of the tools and covering some of the expenses to get them here. The good news is, can I say anything yet?
No, absolutely not.
Stay tuned. The borders are shrinking. And now you threw me completely. So so I was thinking, who are we going to bring on this week? And then I got this idea that I think is fantastic. You'll tell me afterwards, but watch for a very special guest tonight. And I think I was just about to mention, I think Super Dave's on too. Is Super Dave on? Have you heard from him?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Did you hear that?
Jake Torello's on.
Oh, is Jake in?
Yeah.
Hi, Jake.
And so is Bob.
Bob Abbott? Bobbert? Bobbert.
Two jerseys.
Yeah.
Yes, Moose's 2 jerseys.
And Kevin Burris.
Kevin Burris. Hi, Kev. How you doing, brother? Anyone else?
Sean McDermott.
Sean McDermott. So, going to talk about Sean for just a second. I did this last week, or the last time. Sean was 2017. Sean is, I'm pretty sure Sean was first Gulf War. I'm almost positive. And Sean came to the class, had a bit of a rough go at the first, but things pulled together. And this is this is fairly new to when we started with the offset, when you cut dovetails and you take your tailboard and offset it from your pin board. And I was using a marking gauge. So I would go in and I would measure the thickness of my saw kerf by setting it on a solid surface, setting your marking gauge out there, dropping it down, locking it in place, and then that would give you your offset. But then you were stuck trying to balance that on the cutter. And folks were having a hard time with it. Well, Sean came up with this little idea. He made this little piece of wood that was offset by just the right amount. Try not to drop it. And here it is, 4 years later, we finally have come out with what we call the Sean Shim. So each side, instead of using the marking gauge, you set that up on the bottom side and it allows the board to move over. And then you turn it around like this to do the other way, and the top piece pushes it over. So you can go anywhere from 23 thousandths to 26 thousandths. So we have 23, 24, 25, 26, depending on your offset. And there's reason why. We'll do a video about why you may want to play around with that. But we've been trying to get these. We got our first batch in. They lasted all of 4 hours. And I wish I could give you a date. Did you? You never got anything. No. We're just hoping soon that we'll have more for you. But that is the Sean Shim. Thanks to Sean McDermott. Wonderful idea. He's actually working on something else as well. We haven't gotten as far yet, but our track record, it could take a while. Anyway, so next question.
Okay,
Any
next,
other vets? Megan, you just interrupt me, please, if somebody speaks. Thank you. Go ahead, Frick.
next question is from Jesse Widener from Missouri.
Hi, Jesse.
He says, I have shop furniture with melamine tops that were handed down from my father. What is the best way to remove glue if possible?
Off of melamine? Glue. If you're talking about glue on top of a melamine top, you just, if you use a really sharp chisel like that, and just don't put a lot of downward pressure, and it'll just catch the edge of the glue, because the glue is not going to stick. Speaking of glue, I've got polyurethane glue all over this chisel. I gotta scrape that off. The glue won't stick very well to the melamine, so it should come up quite easy. As long as you don't put any downward pressure, you shouldn't scar the melamine. Next, Frick.
All right, next one comes.
Or you can take your chisel. If you have an IBC chisel, huge advantage of the IBC chisel, you can do this. You can take the handle off. The developer, the manufacturer of the IBC chisel is a good friend of Dave Lovett's up in Ontario. So you set that like that, it lays perfectly flat, and then just like using a chisel plane, you could just move that, and it works like a chisel plane. Normal chisels all have a ferrule on there, regardless of whether or not they're a socket or a tang. The tang, they don't come apart. Well, the tang don't come apart. The sockets do, but they always have a socket that won't allow that to lay flat, but this does, so you can multiple uses. Good reason to buy them. If you're going to get some chisels, I'll give you a little shameless commercial. Start with a 1/4, a 1/2, and a 3/4. And you may never need anything more. If you do, the next one to buy would be the 1/8 inch. So we have an 80-year-old retired fabricator. His name is Willie. If he's watching, hi Willie, get to work. You're slacking. And Willie makes an 1/8 inch chisel for us because we've been waiting forever and they weren't coming out with them. So we take a 1/4 inch chisel and we have made a jig and we grind it back. So you have, what are we, 1.5 inches?
Yeah, 1.25 inches.
So, I was trying to think, I was preparing this and I thought, wow, this is actually ingenious, because when you're preparing the backs of your chisel, if you've got an 1/8 inch chisel, and I do, I'm going to show you what I mean. You'll catch onto this. Here's a Lee Nelson 1/8 inch chisel. So in the process of initial preparation, you don't have much to balance on, and it's so easy for that thing to twist one way or the other.
Because it's tall.
Because, yes, right, thank you, Jake. So you can't have an 1/8 inch chisel and keep it as narrow as your other chisels. There's not enough metal there. So on an 1/8 inch chisel, what you have to do is you have to increase the height to compensate for the narrow width. So it makes it very, very difficult to move that on a stone without having it roll. Well, by doing this, you've got that 1/4 inch footprint back here, which, oh my goodness, it's just the difference between night and day.
And grinding.
And grinding too, yes. Yeah, you got a
More
little more surface area up there. If you're trying to grind on that, you don't have, it's actually rounded somewhat. You don't really have any surface to maintain when you've got that laying on your tool rest, whereas this you do. So we stumbled upon some of those benefits and didn't really notice them until we started using it and thought, wow, this is actually a great idea. Was I just going off on something, or was that actually a question? Does anybody remember?
The last question was about the glue on the melamine
Oh, the
top.
glue. Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you. Next.
All right, next one comes from
Rapid fire.
Forrest Gramp in Massachusetts.
Hi, Forrest.
He says, do you recommend a different finish for a workbench top versus a cabinet or other low contact surface?
Yeah. Definitely not any kind of a sprayed-on finish.
No top coat.
No, yeah. You want something that goes in, not on, because if it goes on, it's going to get scratched up real quick. So I use an oil. So what I do on my wooden workbench is I use tung oil. I'll show you the picture so you can get it. Somebody told me you can get this in the U.S. I thought it was just a Canadian-only product. If you're in Canada, Home Hardware, that franchise carries it. If you're in the United States, I don't know where you're going to get it, but I'll show you the numbers on it. So this is made by circa 1850, teak and tung oil. And it's not a true tung oil, apparently, but it is somewhat. But I really like it because I just like the way it works in the wood. I like the way it applies. I dilute it by about 15% maybe with mineral spirits, just so that it doesn't dry quite so fast and I can spread it a little bit easier. So what I'm looking for on my bench primarily is just to keep things from sticking to it, like if you drop some glue on it. So it's not there to beautify as much as it is just to protect. And you can just, whenever it gets worn out, you can put a new coat on. So this is great stuff, and for furniture, it's fantastic as well too. If you're willing to put the work in, you're going to put an oil finish on. You can't do 2 coats or 3 coats. You need more like 6 or 7, and there's a lot of work. There's a day of drying in between. It's a lot of work, but it's a beautiful finish when it's done. Next, Rick.
Okay, next one comes from Brendan Falkowski in San Francisco. He says, any design ideas for a wall-mounted clamp rack that locks? I have to store them in a shared garage and just need to prevent walk-offs.
Need to prevent what?
Walk-offs.
Oh, walk-offs. Wow. Well, here's my clamp rack. It's a pretty simple one. You got to use plywood because if you try to use that as solid wood, these break too easy. Plywood, where you have the plies going in different directions, is a lot stronger. So I suppose if you made those deep enough, you could easily put a, get a piece of...
That wouldn't work, though.
What?
If you were putting something over it to hold those bars against the wall.
No, but I'm trying to answer this just as he asked. If you put in those hook, what are they? You screw them into the wall, they got a hole, they got a round. Eye hooks? Yeah, eye hooks. Top hooks. If you put an eye hook there and there and there and there on top and bottom,
They just slide them out?
yeah, well, that wouldn't work. I was going to say you could run a piece of rebar through it and then just drill a hole in the rebar and put a padlock in it, but then they could, what's to prevent them from just pulling it off the top? Huh? Yeah, if you put another block out here, if you put something like this, only didn't have the cutaways up here so that you couldn't lift this up more than that, just enough to get it out, and then you did that, that would prevent people from being able to walk off with it. That's a shame. Get your own garage or kick the other guy out. Hey, had the Doberman. A Doberman that knows your clamps. Next, Rick.
Okay, next one comes from Anthony Chiapetta.
Oh, wait. Just before we leave that. So this is actually kind of dangerous, especially if you have kids around your shop. Because if you happen to, Jake, over here. If you happen to bump this down below hard enough, oh, maybe it doesn't. It'll knock that out like that. And you don't want this coming down on top of you. So if I was doing this again, I would probably take this in another ½ an inch, which means you have to make this wider so it sticks it out here and you're not bumping into the wall. And it may even need to have another one down the bottom to support it. But it's other than that, it's a good system and it's nice and compact. It's the best one I've come up with. I haven't found any that I like better than that. Okay, go ahead, Frick, sorry.
Okay, next one comes from Scott Field.
Hi, Scott.
In the chat, he says, my current workspace is too small to saw long boards. Do you recommend a saw bench over saw horses? If so, can you recommend a design? I've seen several options online.
Okay, Ken, would you do me a favor, please, and go in and get me my saw bench? It's being used.
It's the bench press.
It's underneath the bench press. That collapsible one?
Where is it?
It's under the bench press. I gotta make that taller. So,
Do you want me to fire another one while he's getting
no,
that?
I want you to say that, ask that one again.
Okay, so he says, my current workspace is too small to saw long boards. Do you recommend a saw bench over saw horses? And if so, can you recommend a design? I've seen several options
Oh,
online.
okay, so he's not talking about ripping the boards, he's talking about cross-cutting them. Okay, so yeah, give me the next question and we'll come back to that one when Ken brings that saw bench.
Okay, Anthony Chiapetta in New Jersey says, what material do you use for shop furniture and how nice are the joints for said items?
Okay, hold that thought for just a second. Dave, what did you say?
Oh, just one fellow said he found a ton of them.
Did he say who sells it?
Lumberyard.
The lumberyard? Well, yeah, I'm sure you can. I know you can get tung oil anywhere, but that particular brand I really like. I think it works fantastically well. Okay, so
I think that guy was talking about ripping.
okay, so who asked the question about the saw bench, Frick?
That question came from Scott Field.
Scott, I need you to ask. I need
Well,
you
he
to.
said ripping.
Did he say ripping?
No, he just says my workspace is too small to saw long boards.
Yeah.
Saw a long board.
Okay, so what I need you to tell me is, are you talking about cross-cutting the boards or ripping them to width? Because it'll be a different answer. And so the last question was what? Ask that one again, please, about using the wood for the shop furniture.
What material do you use for shop furniture, and how nice are the joints for said items?
Oh, well, so let me take you back a few years. When I was starving to death, also known as being a furniture maker, I graduated in 1989, moved back and opened my shop immediately. And from then until the end of 1999, that's how I tried to feed my wife and 5 children. Pretty sure that's how many we had at the time.
How many?
And 5?
Yeah, yeah.
What year was
6.
Kenzie born?
Kenzie was 6. 98.
6? No wonder we couldn't make it. So I used to. I mean, I'm a woodaholic, and I remember this guy contacted me from Maritime Lumber, not Maritime Lumber, East Coast Hardwoods over in Halifax, and I had established some kind of a relationship with him, and he said, Rob, he said, we just went to an estate sale in northern New Brunswick, and I can't remember how many thousand board feet of bird's eye maple that had been milled and 50, 60 years ago in a barn on a property. The old man died. He said, Rob, I've been in the lumber business all my life. He says, I have never seen bird's eye maple like this. So I bought some, and it coincided with a commission that had just come in. This fellow had just had a new trophy wife and wanted to get her this hope chest, and he wanted to make it out of bird's eye maple. Well, this stuff, I bought enough for the hope chest, and you couldn't, if you had a board that was 6 feet long, on 5 feet of it, you couldn't put another bird's eye on without touching an existing one. It almost looked like a different species of wood. Most incredible bird's eye I'd ever seen. And I loved working with it and building this piece, and then I went out the door. I was never to see it again. And that's what always happened. The prettiest wood that I love so much was leaving my shop and going somewhere else. And I'm stuck with nothing. And so the stuff that you have in your shop, you get to see all the time. And if you like pretty wood, then why not use it in your shop? You're not abusing it. My bench, I used to put a blanket on at night for the first 10 years. So I make my stuff out of some of the best wood I can find. So here's some really nice bird's eye. Now I stretched it. That's not a piece of solid bird's eye. That's a piece of maple, but I took a really pretty piece of bird's eye, sliced it into 1/8-inch pieces, and I wrapped it all the way around so I could get more out of it. One piece of bird's eye was enough to do both of those stretchers. Now, and I got some lovely mahogany, ribbon stripe mahogany down there. For this stuff, so I thoroughly love working with this northern white pine I was telling you about. And I said, has anybody challenged me yet on what wood ages better? Is anybody watching for that?
I'm concerned about you saying you got a trophy wife.
What?
Trophy wife.
Isn't that what they call it when, filter me, would you, Mitch? Marmoose? Well, that's the way it was described. Anyway, now you threw me. Bring me back. Bring me back.
Talking about anybody challenge you on the...
Oh, why do I love working with pine? Because every wood ages. And as it ages, it changes color because of UV light. So if you look at a piece of red oak, it'll get this putrid yellow. Maple yellows, birch yellows. Now mahogany could actually be one. Mahogany gets dark, really dark, which kind of takes away from any, because it can get so dark you can't even tell what it is. Walnut gets a gray color, which I don't like at all. But pine gets this beautiful honey patina that just gets better and better with age. So that's why I say it is the best. And what?
How similar northern white pine and eastern white pine?
Same thing, same thing. It's like anything. I mean, they all develop their own little names depending on who's cutting it. Chris, can you clarify that? Sawmill guy?
Yeah, you hear lots of words, lots of names for pine.
Yeah.
Loblolly, southern yellow.
Well, yeah, but people will give their own local names to it, but it's probably 2 or 3 different species. They're all grouped into one. I'll tell you this little tidbit. So in the United States, there are 50 species of oak, and they're all sold. Those that are commercially harvested are sold as either red oak or white oak. So 50 different species but being sold as one or the other. So anyway, so if there's a little variation one board to another, that's why it might be. It's actually not the exact same species. So I love working with pine. There's nothing that planes any better. It just comes off that like an onion skin. I'm looking for a piece to play with. It not only does it plane well, I can't do that because that's for a project. It planes well, it chisels beautifully, it saws wonderfully. It's just a gorgeous wood to work, and it's warm to the touch. So that's what I use. You may find something, and it's not cheap. In fact, clear northern white pine is as expensive as walnut, if not more so. So that's the wood that I love to use. I like Douglas fir. In fact, Jake and I were just doing something the other day, and where's that, Jake, that had that? Oh, yeah. So Alan Peters used to do this, and I never really thought about it much until it happened to me. But Alan used to go and buy up old furniture, and he would buy it up in order to get the wood out of it, salvage the wood out of it. And he loved to get old mahogany and use it for drawer sides, because he figured if something's going to be stable, something that's been cut and milled for the last 100+ years would be stable. So I had a friend who was fixing an old, actually he was converting, what do you call the bumper boards on a pool table? Bumper boards? Rails? The rails? So these rails were made out of Douglas fir. And he gave them to me, so we've been using it. And when I looked at it, and I looked at the growth rings, I said, wow, look at that stuff. I wonder, just out of curiosity, if we can count and see how many growth rings per the inch we got on that. Now that'll give you some idea how old this tree is. All right. Wow, can you even count them?
No.
Huh?
You don't have that kind of magnification.
Well, I think I can. So I'm going to try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Has there ever been
24,
anything
25.
so riveting?
So there's 50 on a half inch, so there's approximately 100. So there's 100 growth rings per inch. So give you some idea how old this tree is. If you look at the growth rings, they're almost straight. So the center of the tree, I'm guessing, is in here because there's a little bit of a radius. So if you've got 100 years of growth right there, how old is that tree based on where the center of the tree is? And that's not the outside of the tree. So that thing could be several hundred years old. Pretty amazing stuff. Anyway, planing this just comes off like a wonderful ribbon. I'll demonstrate for you. Blade sharp, Jake?
Enough?
Bring that blade in a little. So it's all the fun you have in the process. And that's just, what a wonderful wood. Jake and I were talking about it and said, well, in some parts of the country that would be considered stuff you could make a 2x4 out of. Here we're using it for building furniture. So whatever turns your crank. Next question, Frick.
So coming back to Scott Field's question, he said both.
Oh, Scott. Oh,
he said both
okay.
rib and crosscut.
So Scott, ripping and cross-cutting long boards because you're in a small shop. So my shop used to be smaller, well, actually probably about the same size. And we had, I think I had purposely lined up, no, that was in the table saw, it was just joiner. I was gonna say, you could line your table saw up with a door and a window if you could go through that way to deal with really long pieces, but that won't help you cross-cutting. So if you've got to rip or cross-cut long boards, boy. I'm just going to show you this. This was one of the projects we made in the hand tool workshop, and I got this idea. Somebody sent me a picture of a piece of campaign furniture. So campaign furniture was furniture that the military elite used in campaigns. It had to be completely fold up and transportable. And it had this campaign desk, and it would fold all up. And I thought that was kind of cool. So I took that idea, and I made a sawhorse. So if you're ripping, and you've got your board, hold that word. How was the peach cobbler? Was it good? You got your board, and it's a thin piece of stock. You've got some good support, and you can sit there and you can rip and you can just keep moving it along. So that's relatively easy. For cross-cutting, it's just the right height, and it's nice to be able to reach around and hold that so your hand acts as a clamp while you're cross-cutting. And it's, so the height's really important. You want to be able to use your knee
Do you remember what
as
his
that
question
third
was?
hand. What?
Do you remember what his question was?
No.
It was, do you recommend a saw bench or sawhorses?
Oh. Well, that kind of takes away from my story. Both. Sawhorses are nice because you get two. That'll handle a really long board. But you want a good saw bench too.
If you had that and a sawhorse
two
that
of
was the
these.
same height,
Yeah.
because you wouldn't.
That's
have two of those.
good. I got to pay him more. No, you're right. I pay him too much now. Yes, that's a really good idea. One of these, and then a simpler sawhorse, the same height, so this does double duty. So here's what we did. We made everything on this, by the way, well, with the exception of the piano hinges. So what you do is you undo this.
Also homemade.
Oh, man, that's hard. So what we did here, we took a
Welding class.
lag bolt, and we heated it up and pounded it, flattened that off so that it would give us a toggle, and we sunk a threaded insert in there. So this one closes like this. Oh, my old arthritic hands are getting weak. So then this closes. This one has a rabbet on one side. This one has the opposite. That closes like that. This turns in there and locks them. And then you can carry that with you or put it against your, lean it against your wall and store it for its next use. Hope you like it. If you do, that's in on the hand tool workshop, which is part of the library collection of our hand tool online workshop.
Super Dave says you better use the Workbench a little more.
Yes, yeah, I gotta make it. Yeah, I do. Next, Frick.
All right, next one comes from Don Esri
Hi, Don.
from North Carolina.
I know that name.
Yeah, he's with us all the time. And he says, I have to set up in the driveway every time. I need some kind of caddy for carrying chisels and plane blades. When my blades get dull, I just swap out. Do you have any suggestions?
A caddy. Well, you know what? These, Jake buys these things by the dozen. Woodcraft sells these, and they're, is it a neoprene? They're really good because they roll well on soft surfaces and they roll well on hard surfaces, and you can get them up to
5.
5-inch diameter, and you can get them all the way down to small ones. They got locks on them. So we've got them on everything around here. So yeah, it's a real easy way to turn something into making it mobile. But if you're having to work in the driveway, that's what I would do. Just make whatever you want, and then just add the mobility factor to it, and you can roll it out, lock the wheels, roll it back in. Then you don't have to sacrifice anything, and I wouldn't want to be carrying out a bunch of things. That way you can make it can be heavy, and heavy enough to make it really durable, and also heavy enough, who's that? Heavy enough that it holds everything in place. So I use magnets on there. And if you're going to roll this around, you're going to want to use magnets to hold your stuff in place. So I would build it the way you want and just add the wheels on it, locking wheels for the mobility factor, and it'll work great.
Luther says he means a caddy, a hand-carrying tray.
That's what he wants? Well, ask the question again then. Maybe I misunderstood.
Okay.
Are you going to ask it again, Frick?
Well, what I have.
Read it again in case I misunderstood.
I have to set up in the driveway every time. I need some kind of caddy for carrying chisels and plane blades.
Oh, you really went
Yeah.
nowhere near.
No, I understand your question. I would still go back to having something a little more robust, more than what you'd want to carry, and put it on wheels. But if you're looking for a caddy, shoot, I've never really, I'm going to have to do something like that because I have never really made any kind of a tool caddy because typically don't go anywhere. Well, that's not true. But the one that I've got a completely portable entire tool cabinet in the other shop that I used to travel with when we go to do wood shows. Everything all collapsed in. That'd be nice to have, but too much work to bring that in here. And that even had a saw bench and a saw bench,
Shooting
board, all that stuff in there. If you're interested, if you go on the online workshop and the hand tool, you'll see our portable tool cabinet. And we put a lot of thought into that because we made that whole thing so it would unfold and be a beautiful tool cabinet behind you. And then when you were done, collapses all back in on itself. The doors close, the wheels are on it. It's all locked up, portable, and you can move it around. In fact, the idea came from somebody was asking. They had to share their shop with their wife's car, so they had to be able to make everything portable. And I thought, well, this is a great idea because we do wood shows and we have to take everything with us. And it's how many different contraptions we had made for transporting stuff, and none of them really worked great because we were always redoing it. And then finally, when we did this, and we built it like a brick outhouse, and it survived as many times as we've transported with it, and it's still in great shape. Ken uses it now in the other shop.
And Ken says that possession is 9/10 of the law.
Yeah. But I have the combination to lock the doors. Frick, next. Oh, here, just before you do. So tonight we're going to give away, one of the things we're going to give away tonight is my current dovetail saw. I had to take another one out of inventory for something we were doing. So we're going to box this up. I'll sign it on the back. So somebody will get that tonight. We give away a big prize for every $1,000 that gets donated. You don't have to donate in order to enter the draw. The link is on there. We always give away 3 Dead Cat sweaters, but now you have your choice of either the Dead Cat, which is great for summer evening beach bonfires, or you can have the cooler golf shirt. Both have the Purple Heart logo on there. If you don't get lucky enough to get one in the draw, you can always go to patsecretgarden.com. They'll put a link up there. That's Moose's business, and he'll be happy to send you one. And I think you got a sale on, being Canada Day or Canada Day month.
Yeah, Canada Day kind of fell in between workshops, so we thought we'd give you a Canada Day.
You want to stand up and model that?
Yeah.
Can you?
Moose.
You need a hand?
So, regular 42 on for 30 to celebrate Canada Day. So, if you
anything
want
on
to
the
get a
back?
little bit of, yeah, well, my shoulders are kind of broad there. The body doesn't go with
If I'd done
it.
that, I'd have hired it out as a billboard. It's got a hood on it. Nice, really cozy too. I got one of those. I love the colors.
And those are hockey lace.
Oh yeah, people don't notice that. So these are skate laces that only we use different ones. He'd never get ours untied. So we'll give away 3 of those tonight. Your choice, your size. We'll give away my dovetail saw, and if the donations get up there, I'll think of something else really good to give away. Always make it worth your
You can
while.
give away your other dovetail saw.
Which other one?
Well, the other
Oh, the other one we
just took
use.
out of the
Yeah,
box.
there's 2. Say hello to Santa Claus and his wife. Huge contributors. They're the ones that take care of most of the costs of what we do in our giveaways. And he's got a full recovery from COVID, so big thumbs up. Big thumbs up to my brother Randy out in Alberta, who has recovered, and he was super sick. Spoke to him every day, but he's finally back, fully recovered, working on roofs, doing whatever, chasing kids around. Any more bets? Back over to you, Frick. Artist is on? Super Dave's mom? Where is she living? Is she down in New York now, or is she still in Alaska? Hasn't left. Go ahead.
Okay, Mick McGuire.
Oh, watch that. But when are we bringing on our special guest?
I'm working on it.
Okay. Let me know as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, Mick
Mick,
McGuire
from where?
Tunbridge, Vermont.
Close by. Beautiful state. Beautiful state.
Are some woods better for avoiding rust forming on tools? Maybe more or less absorbent of humidity?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of that question.
So he says, are some woods better for avoiding rust forming on tools? Maybe more or less absorbent of humidity.
Huh. Never explored that. Don't really know. The only thing I could think of is in a sawtill. You know, we designed this so that you didn't have to waste all this space up above in lifting the saws out. So instead, the till comes out, and you take your saw out and use it and put it back. So that would be the only time that I would think that you'd be worried about any wood that had something in it that would affect the saw. And I haven't looked
Or
at...
the plane till. The plane.
Oh yeah, the plane till, the way it sits on. I've never had a problem with that. So I wouldn't use wet wood. How's that? Next, Frick.
Okay. Next one comes from...
Anybody have any questions on torrefied wood that we can throw at Chris?
They will soon now.
All right.
Okay, Jim Richards.
I'm gonna get Chris to give a little talk about torrefied wood. You're gonna find this fascinating, because imagine having wood that doesn't move and doesn't absorb moisture. So actually, the question that was just asked, well, that might be a great idea to use torrefied wood for something where it's in constant contact with tools. Sorry, go ahead, Frick. I interrupted you twice now.
Okay, Jim Richards in Springfield, Ohio. Would you ever use mechanical glides for shop drawers containing heavy tools?
Somebody put a gun to my head, maybe.
You used them over there
Where?
in the corner unit
I did not.
in the other shop. Yes, you did. In two of the
Oh, the
cabinets.
slide outs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that's not a drawer. That's a slide out.
Oh.
Yeah, if I had to. I don't like them necessarily, but if you had something really heavy and you wanted full access, meaning you had to have it a full extension, then you'd have to. And if you're going to do that, use the big heavy-duty ones that are rated for 100 pounds. I'm trying to think of the name brand on them. Not the little light ones that fit underneath. They're really heavy-duty, ball bearing, and they're actually, I have them right here. We use them on this. So this is not the designed application, but what I've done here, if you look up on top, I took side-mounted full extension hinges, our drawer guides, and I routed out this section top and bottom, and I set them in so that they could be used like that. And then on this one, you can see a little bit easier. We did the same thing here. So all of that weight is just on this back side, so we set it in. And it's so far it's turned out well. I mean, there's a fair bit of weight on this one, and it doesn't sag at all. So yes, I would, but I would never do them on drawers for a piece of furniture. House furniture, that is. Frick, next.
All right, next one comes from Patrick in Germany.
Hi, Patrick.
What is the best way to connect deep, heavy doors loaded with tools to a wall cabinet without them sagging?
Deep, heavy drawers.
Doors
Doors.
loaded with tools
Oh, loaded with tools.
to a
Ooh,
wall
wow.
cabinet without them sagging.
Yeah. Deep, heavy drawers.
Doors.
Doors. That's what I knew that. Well, if they were full length, I would actually put wheels. I would put wheels on the outside, on the very outside at the bottom to support it. So you open it up like that. You can a piano hinge. I mean, a piano hinge essentially gives you all hinge top to bottom, and as long as it's secured well. If you're doing regular, you just have to really bone up on the hinges. But if you can build, you also want to build some kind of a torsion box. So a torsion box torsion box really probably isn't the way to explain that. But if you've got a frame, a door frame that is wide this way, so that you have depth in the door, and then when you put your plywood back on, set your plywood back into a rabbet all the way around and make sure that it is glued. And then when that glue dries, that sheet of plywood will make it so that door will never move. The only problem you have to worry about then is how you attach it so it doesn't sag. And that's just a matter of extra hinges, piano hinge, or if it's really heavy, put some kind of a 360 caster on the bottom side so that takes the weight as it opens and closes. Next, Rick, what, Ken?
Mrs. Claus just put a comment on here. Megan, can you read it? You got a mic there.
Me and Santa are here tonight. Thanks for the support on COVID. Me and Santa have some surprises in store coming up you won't want to miss, so stay tuned. Santa will get with Rob.
Oh, we love Christmas in July. Frick?
You waiting for me?
Yeah, I'm waiting on you.
Trying to do like 30 things here.
Well, here, you do that. I'm gonna bring this over. I'm gonna get Chris to explain this, because I always worry when I talk about it whether or not I'm saying it the way it's supposed to be. So, this is a piece of torrefied maple, and the big advantage of it is it's extremely stable.
They want to know how torrefied wood is torrefied.
That's what Chris is going to tell us. Can you get him mic'd up, please? So here's where I found out about it. I have a good friend, you all know Mel. Mel owns Exotic Woods in Burlington, Ontario. You can get him on the website. He's got the biggest supply of wood I have ever seen anywhere, and and I'm not saying this for any other reason than he is. He's a great guy. I'd have him here with us tonight if he lived close enough. He's a better than a great guy. He's an awesome guy. He's a great father. He's just I could go on and on about him. Anyway, so anything Mel tells me, I trust. And he told me, he said, Rob, he said, when you can rip down the middle of a piece of torrefied wood and it'll lay perfectly flat, it'll never cup, it'll never move. I said, really, Mel? So I took a piece that was about 7/8 of an inch thick, a little better than that. I needed it 3/4, maybe even 5/8. And I remember ripping off one side, it was about 6 inches wide, and that little thin piece of wood just fell over and laid flat on the bench. And somewhere in this shop, I still have it, and it's still flat to this day. So we used to make winding sticks out of quarter-sawn walnut, quarter-sawn mahogany. Quarter-sawn because that's going to be your most stable cut of wood. But no matter what, they would move, and you just had to tell folks, listen, over time, you're going to have to check your winding sticks to make sure they're still flat. Well, actually, after Mel had told me about that, I said, wow, wouldn't it be a great idea to make our winding sticks out of torrefied maple, because they'll never move and they'll stay perfectly straight and flat. And they have to date. So, go over to Chris Davenport. Tell us about torrefied wood. Make her good, brother.
My past in torrefied wood was with torrefying wood meal for the wood pelleting process. And basically what was done with the meal, and I presume it's the same with the boards.
And what is meal?
It's basically sawdust. It's what people in the pelleting industry call the material they make a pellet with. So it's
And it's
literally
it's just sawdust. Yeah.
So basically, it was heated for a X number of minutes at an elevated temperature, which of course was another mystery, secret ingredient. Held at that temperature for a certain amount of time, and in an inert atmosphere without oxygen, so that it wouldn't catch fire.
So the heat would be obviously high enough to burn it if oxygen was present.
So
I'm going to ask you some questions because I want to know this too.
Yep. So in the inert atmosphere, it wouldn't catch fire. It was held at a
So
certain
when you say an
temperature.
inert atmosphere, any idea what they used, or
I'm
was
not
that
sure
another
what,
secret?
what other gases they would put in it. It's all, everybody's got their own. Okay. So in this inert atmosphere, they would replace it with a gas that wasn't flammable and wouldn't allow the wood to burn. And there was some of them even had different recipes for like they would be at one temperature for a while and then they would bring it down at a certain rate, or they would change temperatures in between. There was a lot of people trying it. I'm assuming lumber's done the same way, but it needs to be in there long enough that the entire piece of wood is that same torrefied clear through, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so in doing that, you end up with a hydrophobic material.
Explain that.
So basically it will not it will not absorb water.
And why did they want hydrophobic
Yeah.
wood pellets?
We were interested in them, and power plants were interested in them because they could be stored outside, just like coal. And the properties and the way they burned actually was very similar to coal. So you could almost replace coal in a coal-fired power plant with a torrefied wood pellet. That was the objective.
So tell them what you used to do in sales demonstrations with pellets.
So we used to have a mason jar that had some pellets that we had produced from torrefied wood meal, and they were in a mason jar full of water, and we had them for years, same pellets, and we'd take the jar with us, and we'd be in a business meeting, and we'd take one pellet out of the jar, and we'd explain to the people. Yeah, the jar of water. We'd explain to the people that, these have been we put these in on August, whatever, it'd be a few years ago. And literally you could almost instantly light it with a lighter on fire. It would burn just like a candle. Yep.
So wood that doesn't absorb moisture. Anything else to add to this? You don't know the temperature and you don't know the formula of the inert gases that they use, but...
No, and that's all, it's all their custom
Okay, now you told me, so tell me the problem that you ran into.
Well, and it kind of alludes to a comment I saw here a minute ago, is it different colors or is it all the same color? Well, back in those days, a lot of people were getting into torrefaction and they were calling what they were doing torrefying, but some of them were actually turning the wood into charcoal. So it would almost look like a charcoal briquette, like black. And it seemed to me that the more severe the torrefaction or the more aggressive they did it, the darker the wood got. And so we were looking for a wood similar to the color of that, almost like coffee grinds. And that seemed to work the best for us because there was still some lignin left in it.
Okay, explain that.
And the lignin is a natural glue that's in the wood. And that when you make a wood pellet, that shiny surface you see on the outside, which is coincidentally what's holding the pellet together, keeping it from falling apart, that's the lignin that has come to the surface as a result
So when
of the
they
heat.
make a wood pellet, they force this stuff with such pressure that the existing lignin, because of the heat of the pressure, heats up, and then as it cools, that's why the wood pellet stays together. There's no added ingredient.
There's no
in a wood pellet.
additive, nope.
But the torrefying process would destroy a lot of the lignin, and that's the reason why you couldn't effectively torrefy the wood pellets. Right?
Well, that's why it was really hard to get the right torrefaction level and the right recipe that you didn't kill. You were going to lose some of it, but there was a way to retain just enough of it to make a pellet.
And there was some company in France, you said?
Yeah, there was a company, they don't exist anymore, but we were ahead of our time or behind our time or something. It didn't catch on, but there was a lot of work in the 10 years ago in that.
Do you have any
field.
numbers as to how much strength it robs the wood?
No, the only numbers I would have had back then would have been the bulk density or the density of the final product, like the specific density, and it was different than your virgin wood, but I don't recall what they were now.
I was surprised. We tried this one day, and I took a piece of regular maple and the same size piece of torrified. And you know what maple's like. A piece of maple, 1/4 inch by 3/4, you have a hard time breaking it. But in torrified, it snapped like a piece of pine, maybe even less. So here's where we use torrified, just as a little footnote. We make the shaft.
I don't know why your mic's cutting off.
Mine is.
I think it's because it's rubbing up against your collar too much.
I'll put it down in here. Tell me if it works.
Okay.
So when we make our panel gauges, we want the fit to be almost perfect. We don't want it to be sloppy at all, and if you understand how these work, if it is sloppy, the wedge won't hold it. So in mortising this piece of wood and fitting this piece to it, it's got to be a really, really close fit. Well, a little bit of swelling here, and all of a sudden it doesn't fit anymore. So we use torrified for that part, and as I mentioned, we also use torrified in our winding sticks because they never move.
And you
Where
use
else?
it on your router plane.
Oh yeah, why did I do that? I think I just did. I don't no reason why. I'm going to experiment with it. Now Jake and I can we show them that?
Not out there.
Yeah. We just did a video, I just did a YouTube video on banding a Cosman workbench with torrified maple, dovetailed to corners. And it's a little bit splintery. I said, boy, it would be really nice to make a set of drawers with torrified sides. They essentially wouldn't move. I may try that yet, but my first actual use of dovetailing with it, I wasn't terribly impressed. In small pieces, it does not have much strength. In a large piece, it would be fine. Okay, thanks, Chris. Next question, Frick.
Yes, I have.
Hey, Gary. How's Tennessee, brother?
All right, this next question comes from Dave Schaff. He's in the
You're
chat.
losing your good friend.
What is the best way to store hardwood boards, flat or vertical?
What? I am? Do I need to switch mics with Jake? Want me to try that?
Let's move that mic back over to Megan's side. This one here.
I'll put this on the outside.
Just take it out, because I'm going to put yours back in a minute. I think.
Okay, so you tell me when we're ready with our guest.
Yeah, we'll be after this question.
Okay. So the question was...
What is the best way to store hardwood
storing
boards?
lumber. You see it both ways. You go in lumber yards, you'll see lumber standing, you see lumber horizontally. I think horizontally is a problem in that it takes up so much space. Standing it vertically is probably the most common way you're going to find it in a retail application. I store most all of mine horizontally out there, our lumber racks, just because that not very many people have 12, 14, 16-foot ceilings in order to store, and I buy it the way I can get it. So you have the advantage of the length when you store it horizontally. But if you store it horizontally, you've got to make sure that your racks are all on the same plane. Because if your racks, one's low, one's high, one's low, over time, your board's going to be matched that, and you don't want that to happen. So the only downside with storing it as it grows is if you store it out and it's laying like this, it's going to eventually want to bow a little bit in the middle, but for the amount of time it's there, probably not a big deal. So I would back up and say the advantage of horizontal is you can store long lengths. The advantage of vertical is you can put a lot more lumber in a smaller space. So whichever one applies to you. Okay,
No.
we're ready, Frick?
No, not yet.
No, okay, next question.
Next question comes from Christopher Moore.
Hey, Christopher.
And he says, most people don't have the huge space that Rob has. How can we scale down what Rob has to a smaller space?
Put it in the dryer.
High heat.
High heat. How can you scale down this? Well,
You have a fair amount of wasted space in here.
how so? Those racks?
All of that.
Well, yeah, I know,
A
but
lot of that space.
those racks were strategic.
No, I'm saying the average person doesn't need to have those racks in here.
No.
So that would cut off 2 feet on the width and the length. You don't need as much back there as you have currently.
If you're in a really tight space, then A, get the wheels so that you can move it around for when you need it. Because you need, your table saw is the most important part of your shop if you're a hybrid woodworker using both. And you've got to have, for safety reasons, you've got to have lots of room on this side and front and back. You don't want to be jammed up against the wall trying to get a board down into there. So whatever, you need to have that space. The rest of the stuff can be moved around to accommodate. Your thickness planer and your joiner can easily swap places. That they could be against the wall, just pulled out when you need them. Table saw, you're using it. If I were to add up all my power tools and say, okay, for every 2 hours I spend in the shop, where would I spend most of my time? This would probably be an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, compared to the other one?
And then the rest of it would, the joiner, the bandsaw, the lathe, the thickness planer, the chop saw would be second, and the others are going to be a fraction of it. So you sacrifice for your table saw to be stationary and have it the most open space, and the rest of the stuff you just have to put it on wheels. But you got to map it out so that it's convenient. Yeah, if I had a small shop, I would probably take a lot of time. In fact, when we laid out this shop, did we do that on video? Didn't we? Yeah, we did. We did that on an online workshop when we were setting this up. The first thing we did is we took this empty space, we made cutouts out of styrofoam of the footprint of every machine, and we laid them out on the floor, and then just worked around with it. And they said, okay, do we have enough room to move? Where are we going to put our bench? And we played around with that until we found the magic formula. I said, this seems to work. And I don't think we've changed anything since we moved in.
No.
So that was the best way to do it. So cardboard or styrofoam cutouts of the footprint of the tool, and then play with that till you get it exactly the way you want. Frick?
Okay, next question comes from John P. in California.
Still working on the guest?
Yep.
How are we doing for numbers tonight?
We have 852 currently.
Okay. Megan?
Ray Door is on.
Cool Ray from Louisiana. Haven't heard from you in the last little bit, Ray, so glad to have you back. Go ahead, Frick, sorry.
All right, John P. in California says, hi, Rob. Any suggestions for finishes for shop furniture? Does it depend on the material used, either hardwood, softwood, plywood, etc.? ?
Well, as I mentioned, I wasn't going to put a finish on anything, but then you realize that every time you put and you notice that there's no external hardware. So I built in the means of opening everything into so this is a half a hole rounded off on the inside, so you just put your finger in there. Same thing with the doors, same thing with those drawers over there, and kind of borrowed that idea off of the bench. But if you'll notice, so these are just prototypes, but they're all grungy from my dirty finger eventually getting it marked up, and I thought I really don't want the stuff to look like that. So I took the drawers out anyway, and I sprayed them all with a lacquer. Now, this is not a high-use area, so that'll probably be fine. That cabinet over there that has the chop saw sitting on it, that is sprayed as well, but that's going to get beat up. This box underneath is where I throw my scraps in there, so it's going to get quite marked up, and every once in a while I'll miss and hit something. So if I was really thinking this through, I would say, well, you know what, you probably want a finish that's easy to repair, which that would be an oil or a lacquer. Lacquer's easy to repair. That's a tough question. I don't think it matters the wood, whether you use a lacquer or an oil. trying to answer this question a little more intelligently. Because I'm not 100% solved. I haven't solved it myself as of yet in terms of what I'm going to use. Next time we do a topic like this, I'll hopefully have a better answer for you because I'm choking a little bit on that. Next, Frick. An easy one.
Ahmed wants to know if there's a difference between torrefied maple and roaster maple.
No, same thing. Same thing, just different names.
Okay, and then John Root in Greenbrier, Arkansas says, you don't use pegboard. Why not? And do you advocate others not to use it? Why?
Pegboard? Yeah, I'll come right back to that. So Ahmed is our buddy down in Southern California that's always sending us incredible wood. And I've got a stack back there that I might not live long enough to use. But Ahmed finds some of the most gorgeous stuff. Got some pink ivory he sent us the other day that is just, wow. That last question was, give me a...
Pegboard.
Pegboard, oh yeah. So this building that we're in right now was originally built in 1990, and it was for a Stedman's franchise. If you're Canadian, you'd know what that is. Stedman's was a small country store that was really designed to be a department store that had a little bit of everything, put in a small town, far away from any large metropolis areas where people would have the option of going to a much bigger store. And my father bought into the concept. The business only lasted 3 years. But the entire inside of this had pegboard. Well, you come over and look at that pegboard for any more than about 5 seconds and you get dizzy and think you're going to fall over. So the only part of pegboard left in this whole building is that little bit of section right there that we didn't change just because I didn't want to. I got tired of tearing down walls. But I don't use pegboard just because it's my shop's a little more permanent. Pegboard kind of reminds me of something you do in a garage that has a little bit of everything on it. And as I said, this is more of a studio. This is as much a studio as it is a woodworking shop. So I like to make things that are somewhat permanent and everything has its own little home and I know where it is when I go looking for it. So no, I typically not use pegboard. And the single biggest reason was because I look at it, it gives me a headache. Makes me dizzy. Frick, next.
Okay, next question comes from...
Frick, we're going to run out of time for that guest.
I know, she's having some connection issues here. I think she's on, actually. You can come over.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you want to do an intro.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, we always like to have, it's great when we can bring on one of our previous combat wounded vets to come on and tell you from their perspective what this program has done for them. Remember, none of us here know anything about it. I literally had this land in my lap. I know wood and how to teach it. Don't know anything about dealing with people with PTSD and all the rest of it. Anything I know, I've learned by doing it. But these guys, you see what happens to them in a short week we have them, and those that we've maintained contact with, you can see a change in their life. These become functioning people. Tony, who's the combat wounded vet that we hired here a while ago, he was a mess. And he said to me the other day, he said, how did he put it, Jake?
I don't remember.
He just talked about how much better his life is ever since he started working here. So it's probably some of it's the camaraderie that we show him, the practical jokes that we pull on him. It's the wood, it's just the atmosphere, whatever. It works, so we do it. But I got thinking, I said, who better to talk about the benefit of this program or this woodworking in general than the person that lives with this combat wounded vet? So I thought, I know, we need to start interviewing some of the spouses. So the first one I thought of would be the one that we know the best, who I can call one of our best of friends. I don't have a picture of him, so I'll show you Super Dave instead. Just kidding, Super Dave. So, Super Dave's wife's name is Michelle, and I don't think he knows that she's coming on. So we're gonna watch someone get thrown under the bus. Michelle, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, tell us all the secrets about Super Dave, would you?
Sure, what would you want to know?
Anything you can tell
He
us.
says he's currently vacuuming and doing dishes.
Did you hear that?
That he says he's always doing dishes?
He's currently vacuuming and doing the dishes.
Yeah, right.
Frick, can you
I
put him on the
wish.
webcam or something?
So just introduce who Super Dave is, his little bit of his combat background, and then take it from there. And from the spouse perspective, what, if anything, positive has happened as a result of Purple Heart Project?
Okay. So he served in the military for 17 years and then he medically retired in 2017. At that time, we really didn't have a clue how this was going to work, or if we'd have money, if we'd be able financially to live, or how this actually would work out, but it did. He originally was going to go to a Divers Institute of Technology and do underwater welding as a commercial diver, but that obviously didn't pan out. So he decided to Google how to do hand tool woodworking, and the best story is when your name, Rob's name came up, and he called him and asked him how to make the hand planes work better for him, the ones he just bought at Lowe's. And Rob told him to, if you have a trash can, throw them in the trash. And he was like, what is wrong with this guy? So after that, Rob told him about the Purple Heart project that he has and how to apply for it. And he did apply for it, and around Thanksgiving of 2017, he went up to the up there for, well, actually it was down, I don't know where you were then.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah. So he went down there and he came back and he was like, he just had so much more confidence in hand tool woodworking, and he built things that even if I was so critical of them, he was so proud of them, but I'm probably more critical. But it really gave him a purpose, and he felt like he was part of a team, and he could actually socialize with other veterans and just get to know other people. And the hand tool woodworking helped him because he would get migraines with all the loud tools that he did have, the electric ones. And so this just gave him, it helped him just have a lot more confidence in what he was doing. And then when he actually got invited to be on the team, that was definitely a confidence booster for him. And he really enjoys everything about the Purple Heart project, and just very thankful. I'm thankful that he's in it. It gives him something to do other than bother me. But right now I have him busy building goat barns and chickens. I got more chickens tonight, but but as a wife's perspective, I would definitely recommend, if you have a combat wounded vet, to have them apply for it. It's definitely a good experience for them and for you as the spouse to see a difference in your spouse as well. Any questions?
Where is he actually?
So I was sitting out.
He told
with the
Megan
baby
he's
goats.
disconnecting the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So I was sitting out there, and then Frick was like, well, I've been trying to call you. I was like, why is this not working? I know that he walks out and talks to his mom in the garden. So I had to come back to the house, and I walked in. I was like, what is wrong with our Wi-Fi? And he's like, are you the special guest? I was like, and at that point I was like, yes, but you're supposed to be surprised because I held a secret until now. So, but he's in the house doing something. I don't know.
So
Probably trying to answer questions.
is there a reason why he just drives the tractor round and round the house?
He loves his tractor. He keeps threatening to get more, so that's why it's like, when will Canada open their borders?
So he tells us he's just trying to keep up with the chickens.
Yeah, right. He said he needs a tractor for the chickens. He needs one for the goats. He needs one for his garden. I don't know.
So
He's actually trying to sneak up behind me. If you see him over here. He said he's going to bring Henry over because I hate Henry, the rooster.
Sure, chase you off the phone.
Yeah, he would.
Well, thank you, Michelle. We appreciate you doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me. I really, truly do appreciate all you guys do for him.
Give Dave a big hug for us. Tell her to
I
come.
will.
Tell him it comes from Jake.
Don't force
Tell
her
me
to do
want
that.
her to come, not Super Dave.
I
you hear
know.
that?
I got to get up there and meet you guys in person.
Yeah, Megan said you can come next time. Leave Dave home.
That sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Frick, go to secondary.
I
So
can't
if
because
you're
no.
combat, are we on the other phone camera?
No, we can't be because I use that camera to.
All right. So we're on Jake's. Do you have a feed right now?
Yeah, we see it. It's fine.
Okay. So if you're a combat wounded vet that has been to one of our classes, watch out. I'll be calling your wife. I got a few already lined up that I'm going to get a hold of.
Well, Bob Abbott's wife thought that was pretty hilarious, so I think we should.
Well, yeah, but we won't let them know when it's going to happen.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah, don't bring up any names. All right, next question.
Just a second, I'm not ready.
How are we doing for donations tonight? All right, I'll get Megan to check so we know what we're giving away. Oh, I got to say hello to somebody. I got a new picture this week. So if you order a t-shirt from us, a Purple Heart t-shirt, so I got 3 new ones hanging up. This was the very first one we came up with. We were inspired by Kramer. Wood is good. And we have the Purple Heart logo on the other side. And then my niece, Michaela, came up with this one, Wood Doing Good. And that was Angie's color. And then the latest one is Wood for Good. And Ken, I met Angie. Angie is Ken's cousin. And Angie is confined to her bedroom because of an illness, but she is going to get better. She's about the same age as Ken. So she and her sister Lynn, Lynn's her caregiver, and her sister, they package up all of the t-shirts for us. They come all nicely packaged in a cellophane wrap, sealed, and there's a little seal with a picture of Angie and I from the first time I met her, and an A on there, which is her seal of approval. So this is the latest picture of Angie, hard at work. I don't see the... yes, she does. She has her safety glasses on. And she's got her locker here. What else did she get recently? Oh, she got an apron. We took her out an apron. So thank you, Ange, for all that you do for us. She's part of our team. Sits right up there and keeps an eye on me, make sure I do things right. Ready, Frick?
Sure.
Let's have it.
Herbie Grief in England.
Hi, Herbie.
He says, what species of wood would you use to construct A, a bench shoulder vise, and B, shop cabinet frames? So he wants an answer for each one. What species of wood would you use to construct a bench shoulder vise first?
Okay, so the shoulder vise is this thing right here. This is a way of supporting your work that doesn't involve any apparatus underneath, so there's nothing in the way. I can clamp a piece of wood 16, 18 inches wide on there, and the big press pushes it against the side of your bench and holds it perfectly flat, and it's secure all the way around. So this part takes a lot of stress. So I would say mine's made out of maple, and that's what I would choose. You definitely need a hard, robust wood. So I used ash on my last one, but I didn't have it quite thick enough, and it would flex a little bit more than I wanted. So I would suggest that if you can't get maple, European benches are often made out of European beech. Maple would be my first choice. Beech would be right up there. And the second part of that question was?
The second part of the question was shop cabinet frames.
Shop cabinet frames. Well, nothing is going to have to withstand the stress level that you're going to have on that part of your bench. So for shop cabinets, I would say build them out of whatever wood that you like, whatever wood that you want. I don't think there's anything specific. I don't think there's any reason to pick any particular wood for shop cabinet frame. Like I said, I don't think there's anything that's going to have stress on it that's going to require a hardwood or a softwood or anything in between. Next, Rick.
Kev James, who's
Kevin?
Just Kev James, not the Kevin James, I assume. He's in England. He says, "What security measures do you have for your shops, as tool theft is quite an issue here in the UK?"
We have a big dog. Where is she? Maggie. Is Maggie around? Could we introduce Maggie? They've probably never met her.
I think.
Is she? So we have a shop dog who minds her P's and Q's. We have cameras. We have and we have lock our doors. But we live in a part of the country. I shouldn't say this too loud. We live in a part of the country where most people leave their keys in their car. This is still God's country, and we live in an area where a break and enter makes headline news. So it's a pretty peaceful place to live. Most people know everybody in their communities, and yeah. So, but security cameras are probably the best thing. I can't remember why we initially installed them. Oh, yeah. Oh, and in our other shop, we used to have a coin-operated laundromat on the other side, and we had it 24 hours, so it had to have some security. It actually ended up being used one time. Some kids went in there and vandalized it. So I would say security camera is probably your best bet, because if somebody wants to get in, they're going to break in. But if you have security cameras, at least you can find out who they were, and hopefully they get your tools back and get them properly prosecuted. Next question, Frank.
Well, first of all, Brian Proper just wanted to say that the mailman just dropped off his order from Rob, a 3/8 dovetail chisel, Just Art, and kerf gauge block. All super nice quality. Thanks, Rob and crew. So
Good, Brian. Glad they made it.
Made it while we were here.
Thank you to Gina and Pam, who do all the packaging for us. Pam is Ken's wife, and Gina is a longtime family friend. She taught all of my children to play the piano, including Jake. And yeah, they do all the shipping. And Bo, Mitch, and Chloe, my 3 youngest, do most of the in fact, they do all the packaging, don't they, Ken?
Yeah.
They do all the packaging. Chloe is 12, soon to be 13. Mitch is 15. Bo is 17.
Cooper and Lincoln.
Cooper and Lincoln, my grandchildren, they do some of the work as well.
They packaged up all the Shim.
They did?
Oh, yeah.
What did we do with those? Oh, we put them in those little things. Did they really? Oh, good for them. Those are my grandsons. They're Frick's children.
Unlike him, they work hard.
Yes.
Yep. Never.
Actually,
I will leave right now.
Frick's worked hard today. He made dinner for us all. We have a meal before every Saturday night broadcast, and these people all come and join us for meal. And tonight it was Southern Comfort. That was the thing. So we had mashed potatoes and gravy. Frick had his own special. Frick's a connoisseur of.
What's it called, Frick?
It's called Frickin' Good Chicken.
No.
Frickin' chicken.
It's called frickin' chicken.
So he bought a deep fryer for our. I got to tell you this too. So we started this 3 years ago. We didn't do it last year because of COVID. So every other weekend, Frick puts on a barbecue out in the parking lot to raise money for Purple Heart Project. And it's grown. It's called the Frickin' Good Barbecue. In fact,
T-shirts available.
The T-shirts are really cool, so you'll want to get one whenever we get them. And if you want a Frickin' Good, it's got a logo of. It's really cool. But so if you would like to have a T-shirt like that, tell us so we can put a little pressure on Frick to get it made. Anyway, so Rex helps them. In fact, make sure I didn't miss anybody. Frick and Rex do all the cooking. And they have what's called a smash burger and a triple smash burger and a big smoky, all these creations he comes up with. People love it. They'll drive back around just to say, that was the best burger I've ever had. So Frick and Rex did the cooking. My wife Kim and my daughter Erica did a lot of the food prep. Kenzie, my daughter, was taking the orders. And Lincoln was helping her, my grandson. Chloe, my daughter, was taking the orders and running them out to the customers because they had to stand a little bit of ways away. Who did I miss?
Mitch, Bentley.
What was Mitch doing?
They were putting the orders together.
Oh, were they? Oh, so Mitch, my son, was prepping the food. And Luke, did Luke do anything?
Yeah, he was there for him.
Yeah.
And
Luke was there for moral support.
Cooper got the beverages.
Cooper worked. What?
I think I'm just
Yeah, right. We could have charged admission for that. His parents would have paid. Yeah, Lou, my little second youngest grandson Cooper was there working. They all pitched in. Huh?
Cooper gets the drinks.
Yes, Cooper would get the drinks out of the cooler for people. And we had $1,100 in sales for that 2.5 hour block. Oh, and Lincoln got tips. Of course, you'd ask them for them. You got a tip? It was a little can. He got how much? Was it $100?
It was just under. It was
Just
like
under $100 in
98
tips.
or something.
So what are you going to say when this 6-year-old sits there and puts a tip can in your face? Anyway, so the next one is, Frick, next Saturday?
A week from today, yeah.
So if you're around Grand Bay, or if you want to be, it's next Saturday from 11:30 till 2. Okay. Anyway, so Frick made our meal tonight. Wonderful meal. We had that his own special. He's putting the Colonel on notice. Recipe. Southern fried chicken, and coleslaw. And my daughter Erica makes the most incredible desserts, and there's sugar. They're fantastic. Peach cobbler. Okay, Frick. Next question.
All right, comes from our
We have fun, by the way. We have fun, and I can't wait till we get our vets back here, and it is going to be the absolute best. Wait till you see our mess hall when it's done. Our kitchen's going to be ready. Our bathrooms and our quiet room's almost done. We got the furniture for it. The benches are being built. The room's got to get painted. It is going to be the best.
There's definitely been a void with no vets here.
Oh my, we haven't had any since October of 2019. So we are anxious.
As much as I like cooking for the neighborhood, I enjoy cooking for the vets.
Yep.
That's
Megan, Frick, my wife, my daughter Erica. It's a community effort, and these people can't wait to do it. So you'll come, you catch this disease. These people are so deserving. Frick, next.
All right, our next question comes from our good friend Charlie McBride.
Hi, Charlie.
He says, have you ever had any shop furniture that was great on paper but was actually terrible in use?
Shop furniture that was great on paper, terrible in use. In other words, did we ever design anything that was a total flop? As far as shop furniture. No, so I got to back up a little bit and kind of tell you that when I was doing this for a living, you didn't have time you slap things together as fast as you could. There's no money being made when you're building a piece of shop furniture for yourself. You had to be producing product. So this is my first crack at it, being now that I teach it for a living and I get to do this stuff to show you how, and I get the benefit of actually having it. So I don't think, is there anything, Jake?
I'm trying to think of a piece of furniture.
I don't think so. I think we've been doing, remember, I got an education in this. So I learned, look up Milo Boffman, Baughman. And I studied furniture design under Milo Boffman for my last 2 years at BYU. And Milo was one of the most reputable furniture designers in North America. And he just instilled in you, I can't even verbalize it, but I mean, you think things through, working with models, working with full-size mock-ups. The big advantage of a full-size mock-up is that's it. That's the size, that's it. The only thing missing is the expensive materials. So if it doesn't work, you tear the stuff all apart and use it to rebuild something else. So if you're new to this, even if you've got some experience, build with models, scale models to give you the look, full-size mock-ups to give you the feel for how does it actually going to work now that it's there and in place. So that's been invaluable in my experience. I used to do it when I built furniture for people. I would build a full-size mock-up first. Next, Frick.
Well, before we get to the next question, I'm just going to show my logo on the screen so people can see. If they do want a t-shirt, this is what's going to be on the front. It's quite large, so as you can see, it's my beautiful face.
Little computer generated.
Yeah. Little Photoshop going on there.
Hey, I asked someone to draw me, and that's what they came up with, so that's how other people see me. All right. Next question.
The guy you gave $150 to.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look. speaking of shop security, come in, Kenzie. Come talk about your dog. Oh, look, here the whole crew's driving. So this is Maggie, who Ken spoils rotten. Maggie is a what? This is my daughter Kenzie over here. Maggie is a Danderdoodle. No, what is it? A miniature. No, it's not. It's a Labradoodle.
No, it's an Australian golden doodle.
She's a miniature.
A miniature
Kind of doodle.
Australian
Australian
golden
doodle.
She's a
Her name
doodle.
is Maggie. And Mister, what's your name? Mickey? Mickey who? Mickey who? You don't know?
He hasn't learned the rest yet.
But you're Mickey. And over here we have Bentley. Bentley's my oldest grandson. Do you work here? Yes? You always fix stuff, don't you? You fix stuff? Yeah. We got to fix stuff later, don't we? Yeah, all right. We'll get the tools. All right, Frick.
Star employee.
Oh, there's Chloe. Chloe's my youngest daughter. And are these your boys?
As
No.
Tony calls her my future boss.
Chloe is in seriousness, Chloe's the best worker of the bunch because she doesn't get paid. Do you get paid?
No.
Not very much. You give her a task. Jake will tell you. And I said, who do you want to come down and do it? He goes, bring Chloe. The other ones are boys. They're easily distracted. Chloe's on focus. As long as she can watch Full House while she's doing it, and she does the job wonderfully. Who's that over there? Mommy Toey? Yeah. Toey? All right, Frick, next question.
All right, next question comes from
Dog's going after a
Nick
thief.
Mastro Pietro in Mentor, Ohio, USA. He says, I recently purchased a Schoberg Scandinavian bench that I would like to add a tool well to. As you know, the top is beech, which, by the way, seem to be difficult to find where I live. Are there some other species that you would recommend for this purpose?
Well, so my approach on this has always been, if you can't match it, oppose it. What I mean by that is, if you can't get something that looks like, if you can't get the same wood, then make a feature out of it. So that's one of the reasons why I did this. The outside of this is mahogany, the bench is maple, and where they meet makes the dovetail stand out. So make it out of anything, but make a nice contrast and dovetail the corners. If you don't know how to dovetail, can Luther put in a video link? So what was the last, hand-cut dovetails, a different approach is the title. Go to the third version, you go in, I'll teach exactly how to do it. I bring guys that are in their 70s into my class, and at the end of the day, they can cut a dovetail that when you put it beside mine, you cannot tell which was mine and which was theirs. And you think that sounds like a sales pitch? There's enough people that will step up and say, Rob's telling you the truth. This new technique with my saw, this is the key ingredient. This is 70% of your success in dovetailing. Why? Because it will leave you a flat surface and a smooth surface. And these little teeth allow you to get your cut exactly where you want it. This, with that new technique of using the saw kerf to start the kerf in your pin board, and you'll make dovetails that will amaze you.
Plane.
Oh yeah, the airplanes. Yeah. Yeah, they're big. It's the loudest he's ever been. Might know in front of a camera.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of frick in him. Okay, next question, Frick.
Okay, next question.
Gonna put you to work.
Mark Fetterman in Rochester.
Hi, Mark.
He says, I have very limited space for equipment and shop furniture. My footprint is 10 by 22, and I have a workbench and bandsaw, hollow chisel, motor table saw, router table, small craftsman joiner, planer, bench top, small units. Outside of reconstructing my boat deep garage, what would be a good layout?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a...
Well, here, I can't tell you, but I can give you some ideas. So your shop is 10 by 22? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So your shop is from here to the wall. And what is this, Jake?
This is 36.
So it's about from here to the wall and down to there. That's actually a decent size. So what you have to do is try to clean everything out of it take all those tools that you just mentioned. The ones that you want to keep in place would be your table saw. Second would be your jointer. Now, actually, if I was going to, if you think, okay, I've got too much stuff to have everything parked, some of the stuff has to be mobile, I would want, number one, I would want my table saw to be parked, my bench to be parked, and my chop saw to be parked. The other tools you can move around a little bit. But what you want to do is empty the room out, get a cardboard cutout for the footprint of every tool, and then just play around with it. So you know that, for instance, I'll give you an example. Here's my table saw. So the biggest thing I'm probably going to be cutting is sheet goods. So I need to have at least 8.5 to 9 feet of this side of the blade. So there's 8 feet. So I've got to have that much clearance, and I need that on the other side as well. So you've got 20 feet, that's just enough. You've got 8 and 8 is 16, gives you a little bit of room in between. Now, you never need more than 4 feet on one side. So there's 4 feet out to there. And if you've got a big saw like that, I've got 50 some odd inches to the right of the blade. So when you lay that out, you can't put anything in the way of that area. And if you do, it has to be something that is mobile. And you know you need your chop saw. You're probably going to want your chop saw somewhere near the middle of that 20-foot span so that you've got 10 feet on either side. I would probably give yourself a little bit more room on one side than the other because you can always flip your board around. So my best advice is clean the room out, cardboard cutout of the footprint of every machine, and then position them around until you can get them exactly the way you want. And you can also arrange your lighting that way too. It worked for us. I mean, like I said, we designed this and we haven't had to change anything. It worked perfectly. Frick, next.
This should be our last one. Comes from Mark Newer.
Hi, Mark.
He says, how much room do you recommend to leave under a fixed workbench to the floor? I want to maximize storage on bench lower shelf.
Well, I don't have shelves underneath my bench, although stuff gets up there anyway. All the thing I need in my bench, I like to be able to clamp to it. So as long as I've got access to get underneath there and clamp, I don't care about the rest of it. You can have whatever you want there, but I wouldn't want a bench that didn't allow me to clamp to the bench. That would be my answer to that question.
Okay,
Megan?
I can do one more real quick.
Hold on just one sec. Frick. Megan, do you have numbers for me yet? No? Any more vets for me to say hello to? Frick, go ahead.
Okay, question from Al Dunlop.
Hi, Al.
He says, hi, Rob. Are you envisioning any changes, modifications, or additions to your current shop furniture and layout, or do you think that you found a setup that'll be permanent for the foreseeable future?
Oh, so we'll do a little more work at it. But you know what? I'm going to be 60 the end of the month, and I've been working with wood since I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I know I was before. I know I was because I remember things I made for my grandparents, and that was before I went to school. So, and I've been doing it professionally since my early 20s. So I got enough experience that I don't foresee any change in the way I work. This is our third shop. I knew the way I wanted it. We went through the process I've shared with you. So I don't think anything here any of the layout in here is going to change, except, what did we think? What did we say? There was one tool that we were thinking of adding in here. Do you remember?
No.
I thought there was
swapping.
one other piece. Yeah, we're going to swap a few, but. So I don't think it's going to change. The only extra furniture we're going to bring in, there was something I thought there's parts right here. There's going to be a cabinet that I mentioned is going to go in here, and that's just going to store stuff that I need occasionally. We've pretty much used up. Oh yeah, we're going to do there's going to be a little cabinet down here near the lathe, somewhere up in there, and that's going to have just some stuff stored in it that you don't use all the time, but I want to keep out of the way. So that'll be a small cabinet. We've got lots of storage for blades, more than we need. And I think that's probably the last of the furniture pieces that we're going to do for in here. So we're pretty close to having this done. I don't think there's any other changes. We're replacing the floor over there where the tiles came out. We're going to we've got this coin stuff that's going to go in there. And then that'll finish that off. And then we will declare this done. Can't think of any other changes. All right, Frick.
Well, we're ready to do the draw if you want to wrap it up.
Well, do we know what we're giving away yet?
We have a pretty good guess.
The number is 2960.
2960. So another $40 donation, and we give away another saw. I'll answer another question while you people think about that. Not yet, but soon. You want to come in and wait?
Did Megan send you?
The executive producer.
Yeah, are you done?
We got another show coming in.
Yeah. Another question, Frick. Let me know as soon as that $40 donation comes in so we can give away more stuff.
I don't have any. Just a second.
Megan, did you get a response to that email?
We're having an awkward pause here.
Just say your little spiel at the end.
Somebody's asking if you're planning on using CNC anytime.
No, not for in here. I don't understand. I don't understand. I think it's fascinating. In fact, Chris made me one. Chris built us a big, how many axis, Chris? 5? Four axis, 10 horsepower CNC to do a lot of machining that we've been doing by hand for the last 11 years. But as far as a CNC for doing my woodwork, I don't understand the attraction for that. If it's not done by hand and I can't brag about having done it to myself, then I don't know why I would bother. My next real focus is going to be, come on down here, let's show them some of this wood. Yeah, you've seen it before, but it's gorgeous stuff. So this is the stuff that we keep getting from Ahmed. And I'm getting way behind.
Emphasis on keep.
Keep
getting.
Keep getting. So this is, somebody sent me this too. I don't even know what it is. It's an Australian wood. Kind of looks like a lace wood on steroids. But I've got way behind a saw order, so I got to get working on that now that we're getting things settled. So there's some beautiful Vera wood, which is just the most lovely shade of emerald green. Here's some of the pink ivory that I was telling you about. And this is, what was this? Do you remember?
I don't think I can say the name.
Difficult name. Sometimes I think Ahmed makes up the names.
Madagascar rosewood.
Madagascar rosewood.
Gloucester rose.
There's some Bastogne walnut with beautiful figure in it. That'll make a wild saw. Lots of cocobolo. Some kingwood over here with some sap. I always like it when we put a little bit of sap in the horn or in the bottom. This is all Bastogne walnut and some Claro in there. This is snakewood, which is the most expensive exotic wood there is. And then over here.
Ooh, the Macassar.
Right behind you, what? Oh, yeah.
Zircote.
Yeah, zircote on the top. Some Macassar. Some of the best Macassar I've ever seen in terms of having some tans and blacks. The saw handles from that will just be hard to part with. But over here, we have a Marine that sent me enough wood to make, this is certified to sell Brazilian rosewood. And I'm going to be able to get 4 or 5 handles, and we're going to auction these off, and they're going to go for a pretty price, and this will all be for Purple Heart. So this is Brazilian rosewood, and we actually have the documents so that we can ship it. Brazilian rosewood, because of the embargo, cannot be transported across borders unless you can prove that it was harvested before the embargo came in. So all the paperwork is there to be able to do it. So we get everything settled here in the next little bit. The big focus right now is getting the shop ready for pending classes. But I'm going to go to work on that, and it's going to be awesome. So save your pennies, because you're going to want to be able to bid on that.
Several people asked to see a shot of the clamp rack.
No, the clamp rack. This this was one of the projects for the power tool workshop. So this is available. You can go on and I locked it. You can go on. What's the deal, Jake?
There is no deal.
Can't they go on and get a?
No.
No. What do they do?
They can go on and they can watch the first episode
of anything.
No, of a lot of series, not all of them.
So you can go on and watch the first episode for free. If you join the hand tool workshops, $15 a month. hand tool library. The other one is $25 a month. You get them both for $35, I think. And there's 2,500 plus episodes on there. So the idea here was, as I mentioned, to have it. The only problem is we've gained a few clamps, and people have been robbing me. I won't mention any names in front of Ken. I will remind you who owns them. So the idea was to have this on both sides. So it's a mirror image. I love these Bessie F clamps. I just think they're the greatest. 3 different sizes of those. The long ones are over here. These quick clamps are really good too because they're a light duty clamp, but they're great. I didn't like them at first, but I do now. Got some real heavy duty C clamps at the bottom. So what I did is I made a cutout of what the clamp looks like, and I pinned it on there, painted this plywood black, and then removed that so you had the profile so you know where they went and they all went in the right spot. So this center section is 2 pieces of 3/4 plywood, and the rest is mahogany and bird's eye trim just to match the bench. And then it's securely held to this piece on the bottom, which is trimmed out with bird's eye.
That's also 2 pieces 3/4, right?
Is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then you can take your clamps wherever you need to go. And these pieces that hold the clamps are all out of solid bird's eye. I wouldn't want to guess how many dollars worth of clamps are on here, but
Super Dave said it was good to see his new saw handles in the rough.
his new sound.
All right, one really quick question to close it off.
Is right. What?
One really quick question to close it off, 5-second answer.
Yeah.
Eric Faust wants to know, what is the one tool you cannot live without, your favorite tool?
Well, say no more. Okay.
All right,
did we get to the point where we're giving away 3 saws?
Oh yeah, just 1 second. I'm trying to figure something out.
Say your
I'm
goodbyes.
glad to know I'm not the only person that is mathematically challenged. Okay, so while they're figuring out how many we're giving away, let me just tell you, thank you to Moose. We're going to give away 3 either Dead Cats or golf T-shirts. And I've said this 100 times. I'll say it 100 more. It's the warmest garment you will ever put on. It's light, airy, and as Chris said, it's got a built-in heater. If you don't win, I'm sorry, go to patsecretgarden.com, get your own, and he's got a sale on for the next week for the Canada hoodie with the genuine hockey laces holding it together.
Regular 42 on for 30.
Regular 42 on for 30. That's a deal and a half. Get 2. And thanks to Chris coming down and his wealth of knowledge. I bring Chris here because he's a great guy. I like him. And he has become an integral part of our business. You ask Ken. In fact, we exist now because of what Chris does for us and up in his shop. So big kudos. Thanks for Frick. Frick takes a lot of abuse, but he's going to continue to get it, so get used to it. Mm-hmm. But he does a lot too. And a lot of this stuff works. I'm maybe the guy out in front, but I represent a whole lot of people. Huge thanks to Super Dave and to Luther. Luther works tirelessly at this, and although we don't always keep him up to speed on stuff we're doing because out of sight, out of mind, but we also recognize that we work well because of him. And Super Dave, well, he's just super. And Tony and Al and Rick that works here and Harold and my son Rex and Ken who keeps all that working. And I always mention Gina and Pam. Who'd I forget? Ian will be back in September. Lots of people. This is a bit of a community, and it's a blast. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be a part of it.
Upstairs.
Who? And Dean upstairs. Yeah, Dean takes care of all of our customer service. Okay, where are we, Megan?
Okay, I'm ready. So, sorry, there's a little bit of confusion. I've been talking with Mrs. Claus.
Yeah.
She wanted to, her and Santa Claus are wanting to pay $1,000 for tonight for 4 $250 gift certificates to give away.
Okay.
So and then people have more than come through with the donations as well tonight. And we just went from almost 3,000 to 5,000. So.
Okay.
So pull all the dovetail saws and the gift cards.
So what are we doing now then? Is the $1,000 are gift certificates in and of themselves?
Yes.
So if we take that $1,000 away from the overall donations, how much do we have that we're given?
Well, 5 minus 1.
Oh, so that you included that. That's what I meant. So 4,000.
Oh, well, I'm not sure. I don't.
Okay, so we give away a saw for every $1,000 donated, but Santa Claus is giving away 4 $250 gift certificates. So if you take that away from our total, what are we looking at in terms of how many thousands of dollars do we have for dovetail saws?
Does Santa Claus donate on the website?
Pardon?
Does Santa Claus donate on the website? Like, would I have seen that in the orders?
No.
No, he said he was buying the gift cards.
So you've added up
I added up only donations. I didn't add up.
Okay, so you've got 5,000 aside from that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, that would get lots of stuff. So
And
don't mind
we
me.
had several generous donations as well, very generous.
Okay,
So thank you to
beautiful.
everyone.
Thank you, folks. But you know what? You know why you did it, and we know why you did it, and I just think it's awesome. So we're going to give away 5 saws.
5? No, he gave. Isn't that what he was doing?
No, the 5,000. So 5,000 was over and above.
4 more gifts.
Okay.
So we're going to give away 5 saws.
Emptying all of Rob's pockets.
5 saws, 4 $250 gift certificates,
And 3 garments.
and 3 sweaters, and a partridge and a pear tree, I'm sure somewhere in there. Okay, Frick, go get started.
All right, your
Let's
chances.
start off with the gift certificates.
Chances of winning tonight are 1 in 752. All right, all the names are here. First winner is, this is a dead cat?
$250 gift certificate.
Oh, right off. $250 goes to Oberon. He only put his first name or last name. He's in Ontario.
Oberon, Ontario. Congratulations.
Okay,
Make sure you contact us.
what's next?
Another 250. There's 4. You're giving away 4 $250 gift certificates.
Next up is Mike Kelly in Michigan.
Hi, Mike. Congratulations.
Next $250 gift certificate goes to, our good friend Abraham in Israel.
Oh,
Maybe
really?
Yep,
I'm
Penske.
glad he won that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to ship anything.
Abraham, congratulations. And the last $250 gift certificate?
Goes to Sylvia Fugati in North Dakota.
Silvio or Sylvia?
Sylvia.
Sylvia, congratulations. Okay, now let's give away 3 dead cats or golf shirts, your choice.
Number 1, Jesse Nunez in Massachusetts.
Jesse, stay warm.
Next.
Number 2,
Number 2 is Sierra Stewart in Alberta.
wow, Canadians. Sierra, congratulations. You'll need it.
And
Number
third
3,
dead cat is Kurt Heller in Pennsylvania.
Kurt in Pennsylvania. Congratulations. Okay, now we're giving away 5 dovetail saws.
Wow.
Well, the first one
And you
we'll
better hurry because they keep coming in. So
first one we'll give away is my own. So I'm going to give away 2 of my own saws. So these 2 saws, they'll
And
come to
the
you like they're
winner-
brand new.
The winner is
And then the other 3 will be off the shelf.
Jonathan Bybee in Illinois.
Okay, we're keeping track of this. So Jonathan, you just won my saw. Congratulations. And he's in Illinois.
Yes.
Okay, next. It's 1.
Next up is Jason Brown in California.
Jason in California, you got my other saw. Congratulations.
Number 3 goes to Brad Padviskis.
Oh,
He's in New Brunswick.
That's
Bruce,
the bullet guy.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, pronounce his last name.
Yeah, come on, Frick.
Padviskis?
That's right.
Brad. Cool, brother. Yeah, awesome. Saw going to you. That's great. Brad turned the Sabo if you're in the United States, Sabo round if you're in Canada. Awesome. Number 4.
This is number 4, and it's going to Chad Iverson in Wisconsin.
Hey, Chad. Congratulations.
And this is the last one.
Number 5. We haven't hit 6 yet, have we?
Last but not least, Neil Porter in Mississippi.
Neil in Mississippi. Congratulations. All right, make sure all you people contact us. We need your address and all the rest of that stuff so we can get it sent to you. If you want a dead cat, we need to know whether or not you want the dead cat or whether you want the golf shirt, what size. And we'll get stuff in the mail first of the week if we get the information from you. Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Stay tuned for updates on the PHP. Make sure you register for our newsletter if you're not on there. We've got lots of really good stuff coming right away. They won't let me talk about it, but stuff maybe even as soon as this week. Get on the newsletter. That's where you get it. Have yourself a wonderful week. See you in 2 weeks. See ya.